Hey Guitar Geeks, Guitar Guts back, this time with a question for you. I was watching a video online the other day that featured Dan Erlewine. If you don't know who Dan is, he's one of the premier guitar repair and maintenance gurus, and I've always trusted Dan's opinion, and I've got all of his books and have used them for years. Dan on this video was talking to someone backstage about how they had their guitar set up, and they were discussing guitar truss rods. Now, if you don't know what that is, there is a metal rod underneath the fretboard of most guitars that runs all the way down to the body end of the fretboard. And that rod can be adjusted. It's got a bend in it, and you can make the bend a little more or a little less, depending on what you need, to keep the fretboard straight or put a little bit of curve in the fretboard. And as you know, fretboards are not supposed to be absolutely straight. They have to have a little bit of relief in the middle of them so that the string, while vibrating, has a little bit of room in the middle, kind of like a jump rope, has to have a little bit of room in the middle for the wave when the string's vibrating. So you can tighten this truss rod and make the neck relief a little less by turning it clockwise. Or you can make it a little bit looser and put more relief in the neck by turning it counterclockwise while looking at the guitar face like this. Now, Dan on the video suggested that having the guitar's truss rod tight with very little relief in the neck actually improved the tone of his guitars. Not the playability. He was talking about tone, which I'd never really heard before. I've known for years that you have to have the truss rod adjusted right in order to get the guitar to play right. And you do that fairly simply by using a couple of simple tools to adjust that truss rod to where you've got enough relief in the neck, but not too much. I use a capo on the first fret so that I don't have to use my fingers up top. That saves me having to grab there. And let me mention that I'm demonstrating this on a bass neck just because I thought it would be easier to see in the video. But Dan was talking about 6-string electric guitars, not basses in the video. So keep that in mind. I install my capo at the top of the fretboard, and then down at the bottom of the fretboard, I'll actually hold down with my finger at the end on the string that I'm reading, and then I'll use my string action gauge, and I'll look under that string and see how much clearance I have between the string and the frets. What I'm looking for when I do that on my guitars by using the string action gauge, which, by the way, is one of the handiest tools you can possibly have when you're doing guitar setups. I'm looking for somewhere between 10 thousandths and 20 thousandths when I'm checking for neck relief. I might want a little bit more on a bass guitar than I have on a regular 6-string electric guitar. If the string's down to where it's cutting into the 10 thousandths mark, I usually give it a little bit more relief. If the string's up above where I can see the 20 thousandths, I usually tighten the truss rod up a little bit and make it a little bit tighter. But what Dan was mentioning in the video was that the tighter end of the spectrum might be better. Having a little bit more tension on the truss rod might cause, well, see, there's where I run into trouble. I don't really know what Dan's referring to as far as what would make the guitar sound better tone-wise with that truss rod tightening up. Could it be that the components in the neck are tighter, and so it's holding everything sort of more integrally together? Could it be that the stiffness of the board, because the truss rod's adjusted a little bit tighter, makes the strings project off of it a little better? Could it be that simply the truss rod's nut being tightened down on there keeps things from rattling? Or is it just that a straighter neck projects tone better? I'm not really sure exactly what Dan was referring to, but I do trust his opinion, and the guy that was standing there with him, who has a lot of experience in the field, seemed to agree pretty quickly that having that truss rod tighter on the neck made for better tone. So tell me what you think. I don't really have a good grasp of this and have never heard it before. If you've got any experience with it or have noticed that yourself, let us know what you think in the comments section, and we'll have a good discussion about the pros and cons of that idea. Well, thanks for listening, and I may be back soon with another question of the week.